We at the Dryer Master Support Center have put together this short introductory video to get you started with your Dryer Master 510. In this video, we're going to go over the basics of running the 510. Now, after watching the video, you'll probably be ready for more detailed information, and you'll be able to find it in your user's manual, which came with your system, or online at our Dryer Master YouTube channel, where there's a more complete DM510 training video. Remember, you can also contact us at our support center if you have any questions. Now, the first question you're probably asking is, how will this Dryer Master system change how I dry? Well, the short answer is that the DM510 gives you more information and more flexibility, and so it will help you get better drying results. Let's begin with the new information you will now have at your fingertips. On the DM510 screen, you have real-time continuous moisture information from the inlet and outlet to the dryer. Of course, right now, if you want to get an idea of the moisture of the grain leaving the dryer, you need to go out to the dryer, take a manual sample, and then run it through your benchtop tester to get a reading. And that only tells you what the moisture was at that point in time. Now, with the DM510, the information you get is continuous and in real time. Now that you have the continuous moisture information, you have two choices in how to use it. If you want, you can use it to continue to make your own decisions on the appropriate dryer discharge rate, just as you do now. Or, if you don't want to be continually watching the dryer, you can tell the Dryer Master the average outlet moisture that you want, and then let it use its computing power to calculate and automatically run at the best dryer discharge rate to get to your target exit moisture. Now that's the overview. Let's start looking at the specifics. With the DM510, you can choose to adjust the dryer discharge rate in 3 different ways. At any time, you can see what way or mode you are using simply by looking at the top of the main screen. In local mode, you see local at the top of the screen, and the remote light on the right-hand side is off. In local mode, you can use the 510 to see the moisture information, but you still have to go to the dryer panel to change the discharge rate, just as you do now. So in local mode, the Dryer Master does not control the dryer in any way. Usually, you only use local mode when you're first starting up drying. After that, you usually switch to manual mode. In manual mode, you still decide on and set the discharge rate by yourself, but now you do it directly from the DM panel, without having to use the dryer panel. When you switch to manual mode, you will see that the remote light goes on. When the remote light goes on, the dryer discharge rate is being set from the Dryer Master panel and not from the dryer panel. Finally, in automatic mode, you tell the Dryer Master panel your moisture target or set point, and then you let it automatically make discharge rate changes for you. The Dryer Master also has 10 function keys, and we're going to go through the function keys, and we'll start with the mode and set point buttons. Now we're in local mode, so we want to go to manual, so let's press mode, select manual, and press enter. And now we enter a new discharge rate, so here we'll enter 35. And we'll go back to the main screen, and we see that the discharge rate drops from 39 down to 35, which is our new setting. So the Dryer Master is controlling the discharge rate at the dryer. Now if we want to change the discharge rate manually, we press set point and discharge rate. And now we enter new discharge rate. Let's enter 38. And then we get back to the main screen, we'll watch the rate adjust back up to 38. Now the next thing we want to do is go into automatic. Now before we go into automatic, there's a couple of points. You'll notice that the green light is on next to learn. And that's usually the case when the Dryer Master is learning about your drying process. So that's on pretty much all the time. The other light we want to be aware of is the ready light. When the ready light goes green, that means the Dryer Master is confident in the information it's collected on your drying process that it can control the process. So before you go into automatic, the ready light has to be green. The other thing you should look at is the suggested rate that's on the screen, and that'll give you an idea of where the Dryer Master will start to run at if you switch into automatic. So to switch into automatic, we press mode, we choose automatic and press enter, and then we give it a moisture set point, and that's the average moisture that you want to see coming out of the dryer. Here we'll put in 15.4. Now, if we want to change that target moisture. It's very similar to how we do with discharge rate. We hit the set point button. We go down to moisture set point, press enter. We enter a new moisture set point, press enter, and we're done. So at this moment, we're in automatic with a 15.3% set point. The next function button we want to talk about is the calibrate button. We use the calibrate button to ensure that the dryer master sensor and your benchtop tester read close to the same moisture. The way we do that is we have you go out to where the dryer master sensor is located, and next to that there should be a green push button. When you push the push button, you'll get a flashing light for about 30 seconds. During that 30 seconds, we need you to take a gradual manual sample of the grain coming out of the dryer. Once you've taken your sample, take it in and run it through your benchtop tester and get a reading. By that time, on the dryer master, you'll see a calibration waiting icon on the screen. So what you need to do then is press the calibrate button, select the sensor that you're putting calibration in for, which is usually the outlet sensor, and then enter your manual reading. If for some reason you don't like the manual reading or you've made a mistake, just enter 0 and that'll cancel the calibration. Otherwise, enter your manual reading and enter, and the dryer master will adjust its calibration based on your calibration. During the busy drying season, we know it's impossible to keep a close eye on everything all the time. That's why the Dryer Master 510 comes with a full set of configurable alarms that you can set up to warn you if anything out of the ordinary happens. There are both warning alarms and critical alarms, so you have 2 levels of alarms to play with. And we're going to go through a couple of examples to show you how to set the alarms, but first note that the inlet moisture is currently about 25%. So we hit the alarms key, then set alarm limits, and we'll pick inlet moisture. And we'll go down, we use the arrow keys to get down to warning high. And we're going to put that below the current level of the inlet moisture, so 20%. And because that's below the current level, it's going to set off an alarm. And if we use the cancel key, that'll get us back to the main screen. And you'll see that on the main screen there's a warning, written warning, and also we have the red light on next to the inlet alarm. You're also going to get a very loud sound when the alarm goes off, and you can use the cancel key to clear that sound. Now, for the second example, we're going to hit the alarm key again, and we're going to use set alarm limits. And this time we're going to go down to the outlet moisture. So use the arrow key to go down to the outlet moisture. We hit enter, and we use the arrow key again. We'll go down to the critical low, and we'll change the critical low moisture. And because the current outlet moisture is below the critical low, it sets off the outlet alarm. And again, we get a message on the screen, a red light next to the alarm, and a very loud sound that again we can clear with the cancel button. The next key is the bin key. Let's go ahead and push it and see what the options are. The bin function is an optional function that's useful if you want to track moistures and approximate volumes going into each bin. You just give each bin a number, and then if you switch bins that you're loading into from the dryer, you use the bin key to tell the dryer master what you've done. Because the dryer master is tracking each bin, when you change bins, you have to tell it if the bin is full or if you're going to load more into it later. Here we're going to pick option number 2 because we're going to switch to a new bin, but we're going to want to add more to bin 2 later. So we hit number 2. We're going to choose bin number 3, then we hit enter, and then when we come back to the main screen, we're now loading into bin 3. You can get regular drying reports on your printer. To set up the reports or to print a history, just press the print key. Then we'll have our 2 options. We can either print history or configure the reports. We're going to start with printing history. And we're going to print 8 hours worth of history. And we see a little printer icon come up on the screen, and your printer then would be printing the history. Now let's configure a couple of reports. Let's go to print, and we're going to go down to configure print reports, press enter, and we're going to change the hourly summary. We're going to turn that one on, and we're going to change the time when it prints, because right now the status is off, so it's not printing. And it's designed to print on the hour. So we're going to change the time to 15 minutes after the hour. and we're going to go back and we're going to turn the status to on. So we press enter and the status will go to on. So now we'll have an hourly printing at quarter after the hour. Now let's go to the daily summary, and for some reason we're going to turn off the daily summary. So again, we press enter and we use the arrow key to get to the status. We press enter to change the status, and now the daily summary is off. And then we just keep hitting cancel to get back to the main screen. Now if you prefer to use the screen as opposed to the printer, just use the view button, and on the screen you'll basically get very similar information to what would be on the printout on the printer. And you can just use the up and down keys to go backward or forward in time. The DryerMaster 510 comes pre-configured to dry up to 8 different products. Now each product setup is a little bit different, so it's important that you tell the DryerMaster which product you're drying. To do that, you just press the product button, use the arrow key to get to the product you're drying, and press enter. Here we switch to wheat. If we want to switch back, we hit product again, we hit enter for corn, and we're right back to corn. So it's quite easy to switch back and forth between different products. To wrap up this video, we want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the core of the DM510, which is automatic control, and how your DryerMaster looks at your drying. Now, because the DryerMaster can see the moisture going into the dryer, it's able to build a picture of what's in the whole dryer. One way to look at this is to see your dryer with a number of layers, each with different moistures. In this diagram, we have a cross-flow dryer with a 3-hour residence time, so it takes about 3 hours for the grain to go from the inlet to the outlet of the dryer. The red area is the hot zone, and the blue area is the cooling zone. What's interesting is that many dryer operators make decisions about how fast to run the dryer based on the moisture coming out of the dryer. But we know that most of the drying happens close to the middle of the hot zone. So if you make a change in the dryer discharge rate, it'll be at least an hour in this dryer before you see the impact on the grain coming out of the dryer. For example, all the grain in the cooling zone is going to come out the same no matter what speed you run at. It's too late to change its moisture. So that brings us to the way the DM510 makes decisions. It looks at the whole picture of what's in the dryer and then runs at the speed needed to get an average moisture close to your target. Here we see a dryer showing the moistures as they come into the dryer. At the beginning and exit to the dryer, the moistures were around 21%. But in the middle, there's some 24% moisture. So the question is, what would you do? Can you get everything to come out at a 15% target? Clearly, the answer is no. It's just not possible. Now, if you run at one rate, maybe the 21% moisture grain will come out at 15%. But the 24% will probably come out more at maybe 16.5%. What the DM510 will do is to slow down the discharge rate as the wetter grain gets into the middle of the hot zone. This means that the grain ahead of it will overdry a bit, and the grain after it will overdry a bit. But it also means that the 24% grain will be drier too. So here you may end up with some 14.5% grain, then some 15.5% grain, and then some 14.5% grain, but with an average around 15%, which was your target. And that is what the DM510 is trying to do, to get an average moisture close to your target. You will have grain above and below target, but the average should be really close to your target. And that's why it's important to understand how the DM510 uses your moisture target or your moisture set point. Well, thank you for watching, and remember, we in the DryerMaster Support Center are available to answer any of your questions. Thank you.